Hello, I'm Rex Hogue, and in this particular session, I'm going to be talking about dealing with medical incapacity. And I'm hoping that I'm going to get my partner Fred to tell you his story to add on to the end of this. But medical is its own kind of deal when it comes to dealing with incapacity. Well, there are certain essential medical documents that everybody needs. I'm going to walk you through the 6 that we use in our office. Number 1 is called the HIPAA Patient Authorization. HIPAA stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. Once a person reaches 18, medical professionals can no longer automatically share information with other people about that person's medical condition. And that could be the parent, the spouse, a sibling, without written consent. Now, typically, spouses do have the right to that information, and typically they will give it to spouses. But, for example, if you have a child in college and they don't have a HIPAA patient authorization and they were injured in a car accident, you might not have the legal authority to get medical information about them. Now, without medical information, you can't make good medical decisions. Can you imagine some doctor saying, well, do you want to do A or B? Well, doctor, what's their situation? And the doctor says, well, I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. You just got to tell me what your decision is. Obviously, that's ridiculous. So the HIPAA patient authorization authorizes them to share that information with the HIPAA authorized agents. Number 2, the Durable Special Medical Power of Attorney for Healthcare, commonly known as a medical power of attorney. This document appoints agents to act on your behalf if you are unable to do so. Now, unlike dealing with financial institutions, we don't find a lot of resistance from the medical community as far as accepting your medical power of attorney, as long as you have one. But the medical power of attorney and the HIPAA patient authorization work together. The medical power authorizes someone to make medical decisions. HIPAA authorizes them to obtain the information so they can make good decisions. Then our firm has a document. In its current iteration, it's 16 pages long. We call it the Personal and Healthcare Instructions. It provides instructions for your general medical condition. For example, if you couldn't live in your own home, do you want to live in a facility? Would you want to live with other family members? And some information about general stuff like that. But it also includes very specific medical things about certain medical situations, like what treatments you would be willing to try and under what circumstances. The 4th document is the Directive to Physicians and Family or Surrogate, more commonly known as a living will. This document authorizes the doctors to withdraw life support when your agent makes the decision to. Now, doctors are very reluctant to pull life support away from someone. You may remember a few years ago the story of Terry Schiavo. Her parents and her husband got in a dispute over who should make the medical decision. The husband wanted to withdraw her life support. The parents wanted to keep her on life support in hopes that she would recover. It was costing about $130,000 a year to keep Terry Schiavo alive. And this case went through the Florida courts, and eventually their Supreme Court ruled that the husband should be the one to make that decision. And it wasn't until a court order that the doctors were willing to withdraw life support. Now, most of us don't want to be on life support for an extended period of time. If there's no hope, pull the plug, let us go. But just realize doctors are very reluctant to do that without authorization. The 5th document is the anatomical gift form. Now, the anatomical gift form does a couple of things. Number one, it allows you to donate your body to science or specific parts for certain purposes that you would like. For example, transplantation, therapy, research. But it also gives you the opportunity to express your opinion about an autopsy if it wasn't required by law. Some people don't want to undergo an autopsy unless it's required by law. Now, a lot of people have on the back of their driver's license that they're an organ donor. I highly recommend against that. If you have that on your driver's license, I would recommend that you do an anatomical gift form instead. Here's why. You don't know what you're saying yes to. Are you agreeing to have your whole body used for, as a cadaver in a med school, or perhaps buried in a body farm so they can study the effects of bodies? And that's a real thing. People do it. Or did you mean you wanted to donate organs for transplanting? But what if your organs can't be transplanted? Are you okay if they were used for research? You have an opinion other than just yes on that, and nobody knows what yes means. Finally, the last document is the appointment of disposition of remains. That authorizes somebody to dispose of your body, make funeral arrangements, and that sort of thing. Now, those 6 documents we consider to be essential medical documents, and we provide those with both will and trust-based plans. There's one other thing I want to tell you about here, and it's a company called DocuBank. DocuBank keeps these documents on file, and they're prepared to send them to any hospital in the world 24/7 by fax or email. We have had clients who have had to call DocuBank, or their hospital has called DocuBank in the middle of the night to get those documents delivered. Think about it. You don't carry these documents around with you. If you were in an accident, how would they get to the hospital? Well, DocuBank fixes that problem. Let me tell you why I'm such a fan of DocuBank. My grandmother, I had done a plan for my grandmother. She lived 3 blocks from me. Well, my parents weren't able to reach her one time, so they went over to check on her, and they found her unconscious on the floor. My parents somehow loaded her in the vehicle. Instead of calling an ambulance, they decided to take her themselves. And my mother picked up my grandmother's red binder that had all of her documents in it. They got down to the hospital, and my mom turned to give them the medical documents, but they weren't in the book. Well, here's what happened. I had an uncle who lived 2 blocks from my grandmother. Without talking to me, my uncle and my grandmother got together, and they decided that those documents were very important. Therefore, they should be kept in a safe place. Therefore, my uncle took them to his house, and he put them in his safe. Where was he when grandmother became incapacitated? He was 400 miles away on vacation, and nobody could access a safe. Of course, nobody even knew they were there. So shortly after that, I met the people at DocuBank, and they told me what they did, and I told them, you're talking to a highly motivated guy who believes that we need your service. And I signed up for DocuBank. That was almost 25 years ago. Now, DocuBank typically charges $175 for a 5-year membership for each person. I don't remember what the single-year membership is, but I'm going to tell you, I can't reveal the exact fee that we pay, but our clients pay less than a third of their regular price for DocuBank. They have never gone up on the fees for our clients, and we've sent a lot of clients to them down through the years. Anyway, this concludes dealing with medical incapacity. Make sure that you have this area covered really well in your plan.